What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Sheehan Show here on Sherdog.com. My name is Sean Sheehan and I am back with your top bets for the weekend in the world of mixed martial arts. And there is a metric ton of mixed martial arts this weekend. We have UFC on ESPN 50. We have the Professional Fighters League return to San Antonio. Yeehaw! Can't wait for that one. And we have... I know where that came from. And we had one championship as well with their 13th card on Amazon Prime. I have previews for both the One Championship and the PFL cards here up on Sherdog, and the lads with their weekly UFC preview are also there as well. So if you want to get a little bit more knowledge of that, along with this betting show and all of that, feel free to consume all of that wonderful Sherdog YouTube content. They're on Spotify, SoundCloud, everywhere else that you find your podcast as well. You will get them there if you prefer to listen and not look at my ugly book. Let's, before we get to this week, let's look at last week. But before I tell you that as well, bet responsibly, please. I've been mentioning like in the middle or the end of the podcast recently, but I'll say it from the start of there. Today, please bet responsibly. Don't bet too much. Don't go insane. Don't be putting on loads of money on your your bets if at all you can. So yeah, just take it handy. Don't bet more than you can. And if you're betting for me for the last 2 weeks, or if you're betting along with me, you probably would have been happy if you've been betting responsibly, because the last 2 weeks have been amazing. Now, we were on a fantastic run before that, and I think anyone who was following along over the last few months wouldn't be too harsh on me getting a couple of bad weeks. But only one bet again hit last week, not so great. Just to recap the bets, I was very, very, very unlucky with 3 of my bets, I would say. The first one, Poirier wins inside the distance. Obviously, he lost, so that's not a great bet. Green wins by decision, I had at plus 135. What was he, 6-7 seconds away from winning by decision? So I would find that one very unlucky. James Power, I had over at Cage Warriors. Now, I'll give my mea culpa on this one. I built him up a lot last week, and I still think he's a very good prospect, but he came in there against Pajani, who's also a massive prospect, as I kind of mentioned last week. And I suppose the issues that we see with prospects were seen, and he ended up losing, so that was definitely a bad call by me. I thought that minus 145 price was good. But having said that, the next time he fights, I think I'll probably be betting on him again, because his price probably will be good. So that's one we might have lost a bit of money on last week, but we'll make it back the next time he fights. The one bet I did get was Chiesa Holland under a round and a half. Honestly, I was a bit lucky, because I thought maybe it'd be Chiesa submission or a Holland knockout. Turns out it was a Holland submission, but we'll take it. And then the other one, which is a little bit unlucky as well, I suppose, the Flier Blachowicz wins by submission. He almost had a couple of submissions early in that fight, so we can count ourselves a little bit unlucky. So I'm not desperately unhappy with the bets I picked, if I'm being honest. Unhappy with the results though, and that's the main thing. But so 1 of 4 on last week, no Flier. Overall 49 of 102, so you know, around that 50%, just a little bit under it, obviously around the 48%ish, 48.5, and then 11 of the 26 overall Flyers, which I'm pretty happy with. So let's get to next week and look ahead to the bets. So I have 3 bets from the UFC, and I've 1 each from PFL and One Championship, and I'll start with those. The first bet I'm going to go for is Marthin Hamlet in the PFL, and he is plus 163 for his fight with Impa Kasanganay. Now, I've watched a lot of Marthin Hamlet over the last few years, and what I've seen from him is like a really good wrestling strength game, and his ability to kind of control guys after taking them down and, you know, stop them from getting back up, or even if they do, to kind of pull them back down, has been very, very, very good. And he has only lost to very good guys over the last while, who've basically kind of gone all the way. Like Joshua Silveira is probably the top prospect at 205 at the moment. Maybe he's a favourite to win it this year, even we'll be seeing him this weekend. Lost to Shoeface, who ended up winning it, and lost to Cory Hendricks as well, who went really far. And even if you go back a little bit further, it was Modestas Bukauskas in Cage Warriors, who's gone on to be in the UFC a couple of times, and those are his only losses ever. So it's only against very good opponents he is losing, and he's beaten everyone else and beating them well. Now, the question is, do we think Impa Kasanganay is a top opponent or not a top opponent? I think at 29 years of age, with 16 fights into his career, I think that somewhat remains to be seen. I think we haven't seen a top fighter yet. Would it be fair to say we've seen a somewhat limited fighter in there at times? I don't think that would be unfair to say, but a limited fighter isn't always a limited fighter. So at this time in his career, where are you catching him? I think that's a very interesting question. You look at Impa Kasanganay and you say, like, he can... I'm watching a bit of tape for him for the preview, like, and I said it on the preview as well. Sometimes we kind of pinpoint certain fighters as certain things. Even Hamlet there, I kind of pinpointed him as a wrestler, but he can strike as well, and he can throw his strikes down through the middle. And it feels like, whether right or wrong, and maybe it's just me, but I've kind of looked at Kasanganay as a guy who maybe strikes more, but he can do it all, really. Like, he does fight a more well-rounded game, and if you look at his record, and he's 13 wins, as I mentioned on the preview as well, he has only 2 knockouts, so he doesn't have that blow-away, one-punch knockout power that we see regularly. Now, it's just my luck. He'll go out and he'll blast him away in the first 2 minutes or something, and he'll be like, Johnny, why did you do this to us? But I just think if you were to say who out of the two of them has like something elite that constantly works for them to bring fights to their advantage, I would say it's Marthin Hamlet's wrestling. And the next question is, do you think Kasanganay has the ability to stop that wrestling for 3 rounds? And like, my answer to that is maybe, but if you were to ask me like what my opinion on that is, I would say no. I think Hamlet is going to get the takedowns, and that's the reason I'm picking him. And it's as simple as that, because and if you're listening to this, right, and forget my bet for a second, but if you're listening to this and you go back and you watch your tape on the two of these and you think, do you know what, John, I do think Kasanganay will stop the takedown. I would suggest that you bet on Kasanganay, because like the other price of that, he's only, we'll talk about the price in a second, but he's not a big minus number there at all. So if that's your reading it, I would suggest you go with, ignore my bet and go with your bet. At the same time, as I said a minute ago, like, Hamlet has the ability to land that one big shot on the feet as well. So, but as I said, I might read here, and like maybe this description of this fight for me is like painting one that I think is very even. And I think if you were to fairly break it down and just do a preview as I did earlier, that is fair. But here is not that. Here is me giving my opinion and giving you the bet that I think will win at the weekend. And when I see that Hamlet is the underdog at plus 163, I think that is a little bit backwards. And I don't think... I think that's an error. I'm actually looking here again. There's one place he's plus 195 even. And the move... the move has gone in because he opened the plus 195 and he's into plus 163 in one place, and obviously he's still at plus 195 in another place as well. If you're to back that, I would suggest backing it early, because I think the smart bettors will get in on Hamlet at that price. I do think it's a fight that's, is it a 50-50 fight? I probably think it leans 55-45 to Hamlet, and he is the plus money, so I would definitely go with him. But as I say, it's one of those, I'm betting the price based on who I think will win because the price is bigger. Like, if it was pure even, or if Hamlet was like maybe the marginal favourite, maybe I would avoid it. But like, my call is he's going to win, and the betting price is that he's the underdog. And that's the one you kind of have to go for, isn't it? So, first bet of the week, Marthin Hamlet, plus 163 over at PFL. The second bet of the week I've gone for, and this price was a little bit wide as well. Now, I'll just say it as well. This price, so it's on the One Championship card, and I got my betting prices from I think it's one of the Asian bookies that I usually get them from, just so I can get them in, because the One Championship odds are always out late. So just keep an eye on this price, right? Now, the prices are usually pretty spot on, but this seems a little bit wide to me. Now, it might be a little bit less, and you know what? I'm still betting on a little bit less. And the price in this one is Kim Jae-woong to beat John Lineker, and he's plus 313 to win that fight. Now, I think that is a crazy price. I really do. And I think he should be favoured to win. Obviously, we all know John Lineker, and we all know what he's been like down through the years. I just don't think John Lineker is the same fighter he once was. And I hate to say that because I'm a massive fan of John Lineker, but he's the oldest 33-year-old in the world. Like, he's had, 46 fights now. That Andrade fight, both of them, did he look amazing in them? I don't know. Like, if you're to look at their whole careers, absolutely, he's had a far superior career. And even Kim has lost 3 of his last 4 fights, but especially a couple of the guys he's lost, Kasanganay and Kai Tang are fantastic fighters and bigger guys as well, and he's a lot bigger of a guy than Lineker. But the reason I'm going for him is I just think the style matchup is a really, really, really bad one for Lineker. And I'll tell you why. I've watched and analysed and previewed, I think 5, maybe the last 5 fights of Kim. He's fought enough, and let me just look here and see how many times he's fought over the last couple of years. He's fought 4 times in the last year. Yeah, what is it? Just over a year. Yeah, 18 months, little less than 18 months. So he's been very, very, very active, and all of that came off the back of that big Marthin win knockout in September of 2021. And as I said, he went in against Kai Tang, who's, maybe one of the best fighters in one championship. He went in against Kasanganay, one of the best fighters in one championship. Now, did lose out to Soko Sato in his last fight, which maybe was a little bit of a shock. But, he'd been in there with some very, very good guys as well over the last few years. Had to win over the likes of Makar Bellator and others like that as well. But so, no shame in losing that one. But at the same time, I still think the point I made is that the styles matchup is a tough one for Lineker, because you look at Kim and you look at what he's good at, and you look at Lineker and what Lineker's good at. So first of all, Lineker, we all know what Lineker is amazing at. He's amazing at pushing forward, throwing his big, massive hooks and landing that power shot inside, taking a shot maybe, and, taking 1 or 2 to give one of his own. But that is kind of exactly the game that Kim wants his opponents to play. He's a fighter with solid jab and footwork, great head movement, and a very powerful right hand. But he's the type of guy, if you watch the knockout against Marthin win, he's the type of guy that steps into the pocket to draw you out so he can counter you. And, when it's John Lineker, you don't have to be Michelangelo or anyone to draw him out. He will draw himself out, no problem, and he will come after you. And exactly what Kim wants is for someone to come after him. So Kim will put himself in a position where his opponent thinks he can hit him. A lot of the time he can't, and Kim kind of backs away and throws his big counters and has massive power. If you look at his knockout ratio, in 13 wins, he has 9 knockout wins, 1 submission, 3 decisions. So this guy is a finisher with big, big, big power. I think a lot of his problems and why he loses fights sometimes, and I've said this a few times in the last few weeks, but he's good takedown defense only up until a point, and after that he gets taken down. And if you try to attack him with takedowns, you can take him down. But will John Lineker do that? I don't necessarily think so. The other point of it is when he is pushed a certain amount of rounds, it can be an issue for him. But Lineker has the same issue now at this stage of his career, fighting with extra weight on his back. I'm very interested to see how that plays out if it does go a tad longer. It's at featherweight as well, which, is John Lineker is a 125 pounder by trade, but featherweight one championship. What even is featherweight one championship? It's featherweight and Sherdog, so that means it's bantamweight one championship. So it is like the 145ish, which I definitely think is a massive plus point for Kim as well. Look, I think the way to beat Kim is to take him down. I don't think Lineker will take him down. I think the way Kim wins fights is if you pressure him. I think Lineker will pressure him. And I think Kim will catch him and knock him out with a big shot. And a plus 313, it's not too far away from being a flyer. But yeah, I'll just go for it straight up. Even if the price moves in, I think, honestly, even if the price moves into like plus 150, I'd still go for Kim. So I'm sticking by this bet no matter what the price is. All right, let's move on to the UFC, and I will recap some of the PFL and one championship prices at the. Do you know what? I'll do the one championship ones now because there's only 3 one championship fights. We've already talked about one, and the other two I'll be able to do relatively quickly. Mark Sanjao is taking on Argil Bartakeu. I like Mark at minus 156 there. He's fighting a team Nakai, very fast, very confident, a good kicker, good ground and pound, good wrestler. Whereas Bartaku is, and I talked about it in the preview, but like he loves to wrestle as well, and he loves to kind of wade in and push you against the cage. I spoke on it as well. I was like, I'm not really sure who I'm picking, but the price is just not big enough for me for a bet on Bartaku at plus 122. So I'm going for standing out at minus 156. Now, the heavyweight fight, Buchecha against Oumar Kane. This is surprisingly big, and it's Buchecha out to minus 712, and Rugrug is around the plus 350 mark, if I'm not mistaken. Again, as I said, those prices we will have to we will have to check them as they go. I look at this and I have to bet the underdog in this. I think it's a closer fight. Like, who do I think will win? I do think Buchecha will win, but if Buchecha's minus 700 or more, I can't go for that. Like, I do think Buchecha will probably catch him in a submission, but Rugrug has improved his striking and all of that over the last while. So I'm interested. Let me know in the comment section below who you picking in this at this price. Now, I don't want to know who you're picking in the fight. Who are you picking at the price? Who are you betting on? Either comment Rugrug or comment Buchecha. Let me know in the comment section below. So yeah, those are the 3 big main fights on one championship. Right, let's move to bet number 3, and that is the main event of the UFC, and it's Cory Sandhagen and Rob Font. And the bet I'm going for in this one is, it's kind of an odd one, right? So it's plus 135, and it's the fight either ends in the final round or goes to a decision. Which I was kind of surprised at this price on that one, to be honest. Looking at the betting odds, I think they fancy this one to sorry, it's minus 135, not plus 135. They do fancy, or like the prevailing wisdom is like, we're not sure if it'll go to a decision or not. And the fight to go to a decision is minus 110, and the fight not to go to decision is minus 120. So it's just about the favourite to fight not to go to a decision. So my thinking here, right, and when I analyse this fight, I think it's one that's going to be a bit of a barn burner, but like a prolonged one, if you get me. And a barn burner is definitely the wrong word I'm using there, but like, I think they're going to take pieces off each other as this fight goes. And like, once it enters round 4, enters round 5, I think someone might slip towards the very end. Like, if you're asking me my preview for this fight or my prediction for this fight, I would probably go Sandhagen by decision, right? But I like this price. And like Sandhagen, let me just check there very quickly again. Sandhagen by decision is a price of plus 175, right? So I don't know. I feel like it's going to be a little bit closer than maybe the betting price is. The money line betting price is minus 330 for Sandhagen, plus 250. I think that might be a little bit off. So I am, as I said, I'm giving myself a few chances there. The fight to go to a decision, and this is either guy can win now. The fight to go to a decision or to end in round 5 at minus 135. I really like that price. It's a bit of an odd bet, and maybe you won't be able to get it everywhere, but that's the sort of thing I'm kind of thinking of. I think it'll either end late or go to a decision. I think I think like Font is a very good fighter. People seem to forget it sometimes, and he's a very good technical fighter. And I think that is a good thing to be against someone like Cory Sandhagen, who can fight technically, but is a bit maybe. I was going to say wild is definitely not the word, but varied is the word. A guy who's does different things, but like odd things that like a normal straight up 1-2 merchant wouldn't do, right? And when you are that straight up 1-2 merchant, which is a compliment, now don't take anything away from it. I've just said Rob Font is a very good fighter. A very good technical fighter is sometimes the elixir that the mad lad doesn't want. And I feel like it's going to be one of those fights where Sandhagen is going to have success early, but then Font is kind of going to bring it back, and then Sandhagen's going to have to find ways to get through to win the decision. And that's what I think he will do. But I do think it'll go long. Could be one of those ones, as I said, someone breaks someone down late. My opinion would be Sandhagen if one of them does, or the fight goes to decision. So there you go. That is my bet for the week. The fight either ends in the final round or goes to decision at -135. Right. The next bet here, bet number 4. I looked at a few bets for this one, to be honest. There was a bet up there and it disappeared in front of me after I picked it, and I couldn't find it again. And it's the Jacoby Kennedy Nzechukwu fight. I think someone's getting knocked out in this fight, right? So I was looking at the bet for a knockout for either man. Now it wasn't a massive price, but what I've gone for instead is the fight doesn't go to a decision. So the fight finishes inside the distance, and that is -110. And you know what? I think that's my bet of the week. I really love that bet. The straight up money line on that is +120 for Jacoby, -150 for Nzechukwu. I was back and forth. I was going to pick Jacoby based on I think it's a 50-50 fight. But I really like that. The fight doesn't go to a decision. Obviously finishes inside the distance at -110. I really love it. I love that bet. If you look at both of them, the problem for both of these lads is a lot of the time people want to come in and either grapple with them or stay away from them or whatever it might be, and they want to do the opposite. Like Jacoby has 11 knockouts and he's 17 wins. Kennedy Nzechukwu 8 and he's 12, and then he's a submission thrown in there as well, as does Jacoby. Of the 3 losses for Kennedy, only 1 has been by decision. 3 of the 7 losses for Jacoby have been inside the distance. So, there is scope on both sides for a finish or to be finished. And that's what I think it'll be like. Sometimes the analysis of a fight, when you're looking at it, you're better off to bet both sides of the analysis, in my opinion. Like my analysis here, right, is the same with every Kennedy Nzechukwu fight. He goes in there at the very start and he tries to fight a more technical game maybe, and like against a guy say like a Devin Clark or an Ian Kutalaba, who come out hard and try to be the more technical fighter at time, maybe not necessarily, and maybe more Cara Robertson, even that, and they're winning early, and next thing it's turned around and he gets the big finish, like in all of those last 3 fights. I think if Dustin Jacoby does that to him early, he has a very good chance of getting a finish. He knocked out Dawoon Jung in the first round, knocked out Darren Stewart in the first round, knocked out Justin Lede in the first round over the last 2.5-3 years. So, and like in fairness, now his last 2 losses have been by decision in the last couple of years. So that is down to maybe who he was fighting to at the same time. I think if Jacoby gets into a lead early and he doesn't finish him now, I think he is, and I'll say it again, I think he has a good chance of finishing him if he does start to get the upper hand early, because he has such power. And as I said, it's very it's not very often that people want to strike with him, and Kennedy will. I think that will either then result in Kennedy taking too many chances and getting knocked out, or Kennedy coming back like he always is and getting the knockout. Like I know, again here, famous last words, but I find this very hard to go to see this going to a decision. Very, very, very hard. Like, I think the afterburners will be put on in the third round. We know at 205 as well, they're carrying an extra little bit of weight. Heavyweight's the only one that doesn't have that as much. And I think it'll matter. I think someone will get knocked out, and that's the bet I'm going for. Minus 110. The fight doesn't go to decision. Right. Last bet of the week for the Flier. I have gone, and I love this price. Love it. Tatiana Suarez wins by TKO KO over Jessica Andrade at plus 540. Now, I think this is fantastic because, like, TKO KO, that means you can take her down and ground and pound her, right? And we have seen in the past that Suarez can pick people up, take them down, and destroy them on the ground, right? Now, Jessica Andrade isn't the sort of fighter you'd say has like this massive inability like anywhere, but she's lost 11 times, and 8 of them have been inside this. Now, 5 of them knockouts as well. I know 3 of them submissions as well. And look, Tatiana Suarez has only 2 knockout wins in her 9 fights and 4 submissions. But and here is the rule, right? I always look at it, and I've been talking about this for a good few years now. You look at the level of fighter where she's got the submissions, right? And now, you'll have to bear with me for a second, right? Montella De La Rosa, who's a good fighter, an okay fighter, but still. Alexa Grasso in 2018, not this Alexa Grasso, right? Amanda Brundage, not a great fighter. And the second fight of her career as well, where she got it. She's not submitting top class fighters, right? She's never done it, right? Please bear with me. I'm not saying Alexa Grasso is not a top class fighter. Back then, was Alexa Grasso a top class fighter? I don't think anyone could really argue that she was, that amazing of a top class fighter back then. A very good fighter, but compared to Suarez, that, right? So there we go. Like, Jessica Andrade, absolutely a top class fighter. Now, maybe she's on the downward spiral of her career a little bit, possibly. We'll see. But my point, okay, what's the point you're making here, Sean? You picked her to win by knockout, and you're saying, oh, she's not going to get submitted. I think a lot of people would think, right, this fight is going to be Tatiana Suarez using her amazing wrestling and taking Andrade down and maybe getting a finish, right? So if we are, and this is a Flyer, right? So when you're making the Flyer bet, you have to make a few assumptions. Let's take that assumption as what's going to happen. Is she really going to submit Jessica Andrade? No, she might. She absolutely might, right? But I think Andrade is the sort of fighter who tries to power her way out of things. And she is the type of fighter who will like give up her back and give up the mount and turn around rather than being submitted. And like, she will get ground upon it. There's been a few fights recently where the referee goes, improve your position. She's the type of one that will improve her position into a position where she's getting battered with shots. And that's the way I think this fight will end. Like, I think she would probably end up mounting her, and it'll be one of those high mounts. She'll try to shook her off, and it'll be her flattening out and getting that finish. Now, the reason I've gone for the knockout is this is the Flyer, right? Would I pick a submission before that? Do you know what I might? I might pick a submission because I think she might get a submission. But if you were to ask me, toss of a coin, the same price, which I think it'll be, I do think it will be. I do think it will be the TKO. I really do. Suarez to get the submission is only plus 100. So you're switching from plus 100 to plus 540 for, maybe someone turning over and giving their back, and, they take the choke, or someone goes over, turns their back, and they ground upon them out. From plus 100 to plus 540? Come on now. Who's betting on that? Who's betting that plus 100 when you can bet plus 540? We're all betting on that this week. Please bet responsibly. But yeah, that's definitely my Flyer for the week. So yeah, there you go. Right. Let's have a quick look through the rest of the betting packages for the weekend. The PFL prices, first of all, Bubba Jenkins, Jesus Pinedo, minus 350. And I've talked about this obviously on the preview show as well. And everyone knows that this Bubba Jenkins Pinedo fight is one that I've been like, I've been humming and hawing a little bit on it, to be honest. I'm not 100% sure if I know what way it's going to go. But at the same time, am I confident enough in going for Pinedo at that price of plus 240? Probably not. So, like, he did knock out Brendan Loughnane, who beat Bubba Jenkins last year. We'll see on that one. I probably still lean Jenkins, but I think I'm avoiding that because I do respect Pinedo. I think he's very good. I like Silveira up minus 450. I do think he'll win that. Chris Wade, I had him in as one of my bets. I took him out. I'm just not sure the short notice might be an issue, but I do think he will win that fight. He's plus 100 in a couple of places here, so keep an eye on that. We spoke about Kasanganay Hamlet. I love this Espinoza Keone Diggs fight. Now, the price in this has changed. Espinoza opened at plus 130, and now he's into... Sorry, he did not. Let me look at that again. He opened at minus 163, and now he's into minus 150. Actually, opened at minus 175 in one place, and he's into minus 163. He's into minus 150 in another place as well. And I can understand why. Like, looking at Espinoza, he's a talented guy. There's no doubt about it. But Diggs is a very good fighter as well. I do like Espinoza and that, but that's the sort of one I'll be waiting until the day of the fight to back, because I do think that price will continue to come in. And other than that, those are kind of the big prices. One fight I like as well, I did pick Chuck Campbell on the preview show at plus 163. The further the week goes, I don't know. I do like Belly Elikana. He's a good fighter. Minus 225 though. I think that price is a little off. I do think it's a little off, but again, I think if the price on Chuck Campbell rises, I think that'd be a good bet. I don't know if I'm ready to pull the trigger at plus 163. It's an even fight. I'm not sure. Look, I know Chuck Campbell a little bit better as a fighter. I've watched him in Cage Warriors a few times and stuff, and I believe in his ability. But you look at Billy Elikana, and he's just such an athletic monster. Those sort of fighters I don't like picking against, to be honest. So we'll see on that. Right, let's run through the UFC. Billy Q against Damon Jackson. Interestingly, Billy Q is the favourite there, minus 188 plus 150. Again, another pick him enough fight. You know, Damon Jackson, he sometimes, you know, he's the kind of the phoenix in him at times. But Billy Q, I think he has a lot of ability. It's just like producing at times maybe is his issue, so probably another fight I would avoid. Harrison Wells is the favourite at minus 138. I like Jake Hadley at minus 200. Now again, this is another price that has changed. Opened up around minus 175, and he's all the way out to minus 200 now, and I'm not surprised by that. When I saw him at minus 175, I had him written down as one of my bets, but we're a day and a half after that now, and the price has changed, and I just a little bit too saucy for my money, I think, there. A few of the other fights in the, as I said, the main event, just the straight up money line price on that is minus 330 for Cory Sandhagen, plus 250 for Rob Font. A couple of the over-unders there. Look at the over 2.5 rounds as minus 200, plus 150 for the under. I like the over 3.5 rounds, to be honest, at minus 150. That was another one of the bets I was looking at, but yeah, I've gone for kind of the the double-sided one there. Andrade and Suarez, plus 280 for Andrade, minus 360 for Suarez. I see in one bookmaker here minus 425. She opened at minus 450. So that's interesting. That's interesting that she's coming in like that. I think this is a sort of fight you look and see, okay, like Suarez, she's been out for a long time, you know, all the injuries and all that, maybe they'll add up, and Andrade has the scope to be a top level fighter when she needs to be, so I understand it, but I don't necessarily agree with it, I don't think. Jacoby and Nzechukwu, plus 120 for Jacoby, and Nzechukwu is minus 150. Interesting. I like Gavin Tucker, the underdog, at plus 140, and I like Tanner Bozer as well. He is the favourite at minus 150 over Alexi Kamor. I would be going for him in that. Bahamundes against Klein. Klein is one of those ones I like that fight to go to decision. Let's see what that is. Go to decision, minus 120. That's what I think in that fight there. But Bahamundes is the favourite, and Phillips and Barsodas. I have a kind of a soft spot for Barcelos, to be honest. What about Barcelos to get the knockout plus 600? Phillips is plus 275. They fancy that fight to go to decision. It's minus 143 plus 110 inside the distance. I'd probably back the decision unless you're backing the Barcelos knockout. But I'd probably go for the Barcelos knockout for a bit of crack. Sure, why not? Here's one price. I don't like giving it, but sure, we'll give it anyway. Look, Jake Paul, Nathan Diaz. He is an MMA fighter. You know, I like to stick to MMA here, but Nate Diaz plus 300. I'm actually looking at the UK price, I suppose you call him here. He's 3-1, 4-1 on is Jake Paul to draw, 12-1. If you fancy Nathan Diaz to get the knockout, he's 11-2. The decision 15-2. If you fancy Jake Paul to get the finish, he's 4-6, 3-1 to get the decision. So there you go with that one as well. I'm gonna pick Jake Paul decision at plus 300 there for that one. As much as I hate it, and as much as I don't know why no one asked me to talk about it. I feel like I'm sounding like someone asked me to talk about it. I just decided, sure, why not? I'll talk about it a little bit. So that's as much coverage of that fight as you'll get from me. But looking forward to all the mixed martial arts this weekend, and I might even watch the old the white collar boxing a little bit as well. But we will leave it there. My name is Sheehan for Sherdog.com, and I'll see you all next time.